I'm not going to hold up this base set Charizard and tell you its current market value, but I am going to tell you to take a look at it again through my eyes. So what do you see? A powerful Pokemon, rare collectible, childhood memory? For me, this card and so many others carry more than just a price tag. They hold stories, community, and an artistic legacy that's lasted for decades. You can engage with Pokemon cards however you want, but here I want to show you why I see them as something far more valuable than money. If this is your first time seeing me, let me know what your favorite Pokemon is in the comments, but I'm Aaron, I'm a digital marketer, I'm a photographer, I'm queer, I previously worked with Nintendo and most recently at Microsoft, but I was laid off, so now we're expanding our skills and making YouTube videos. If you want to support me, press the like button and subscribe because I have a lot of plans for this. I started collecting Pokemon cards back in 1998, right when they launched in the US. Like a lot of kids at the time, I was obsessed with the idea of catching them all. I remember opening fossil packs and pulling a holo Dragonite multiple times. Me and my dad would go to our local card shop and sell them for about $30 a piece, which was a fortune to me back then, but this video isn't about money. Some of my favorite memories were when my dad would surprise me with a pack of cards just resting on my pillow after school, and when my uncle bought me this Japanese base set booster box. Back then I didn't really question it, but now that I look back, I'd really like to know how he got this because people weren't importing like that back then. But then, like a lot of kids, I started to care what people thought about me. Pokemon wasn't considered cool anymore, and even though I still played the video games privately, I drifted away from the TCG after Neo Discovery. That is until 2014 when the XY era pulled me back in, and that's actually when I started collecting my plush. The introduction of Mega Evolution, the Fairy type, and the jump into 3D for the video game was very much a refresh, and I decided to actually learn how to play the trading card game this time. I joined local pre-release events, cracked open booster boxes, and for a while it felt like I was back in that childhood headspace. But collecting Pokemon cards can get expensive, and I did lose interest again. My card collecting habits started again with the Celebration set in 2021, and they released a set filled with classic reprints, cards that made me feel nostalgic. Instead of chasing rare or expensive cards though, I started collecting for the joy of the art itself. The thing that pushed me to reevaluate my purpose for collecting Pokemon cards was the whole card boom that started to begin after 2020, where certain creators started to hype up certain cards like they were reporting on the stock market. And scalpers began to buy up all the Pokemon TCG product, which caused many issues for fans who played the game and casual consumers. These issues are still happening today, and it sucks because I just want to look at my shiny cardboard and play with my friends. For me, Pokemon cards have always been more than just playing the game or collecting what's rare. The artwork is what sold it for me initially, and even today I'll open my binders and just look at my cards. If you look at early sets, a lot of the art had this simplistic, almost dreamlike quality, like cards illustrated by Kagemaru Himeno. Their art perfectly captures the magic of the Pokemon world. Their illustrations feel soft, inviting, and a little surreal, like we're peeking into a moment suspended in time. Take this Dragonite card I showed you earlier, for example. Instead of depicting Dragonite in an action-packed battle stance like it's known for today, Himeno gives us this serene, almost whimsical pose. It's gently sitting there against an ethereal background that makes it feel like it exists in some kind of dreamscape. And maybe the rainbow background appeals to me a little bit. The soft shading and expressive eyes make Dragonite feel more like a guardian spirit than just a powerful Pokemon. Then there's this Vaporeon card which carries a similar magical energy. Himeno illustrates Vaporeon in a style that we don't see today as Pokemon was still new and finding itself at the time. Vaporeon looks like you'd be able to find it as a creature in like a D&D campaign. The bubbly background and holo pattern add to the fantasy, making this Vaporeon feel more mythical than just a water Pokemon. Over time, the art in the Pokemon TCG evolved. We started seeing more dynamic action shots, creative perspectives, and even entire stories told across multiple cards most people don't even notice. We have this set of cards illustrated by Kawayo from Black and White's final set Legendary Treasures, starting with this Trubbish who appears stranded on this beach full of trash, greeted by this Fion who later recruits an Empoleon to save Trubbish. There's this set of cards by Koki Saito that's split between Evolving Skies and Fusion Strike that depicts Pokemon walking along a trail and adding to the mess that was started by this Smeargle. Most recently, from Scarlet and Violet, is this series from Jiro Sasamo expressing the passage of time through the evolution of a routes and aging of the family it's part of. And then there are artists who put their own signature elements into their work, like Yukamori who creates clay figures, and Asaka Ito who uses yarn. These details make collecting an experience more than just pulling something rare and screaming about a pretend dragon. If you're wanting Pokemon cards that are inspired by classic artists like Munch and Van Gogh, or you're interested in Japanese art in the ukiyo-e style, cards like that do exist, but they were very limited in release. We have a set of 5 cards inspired by Munch's The Scream featuring Rowlet, Mimikyu, Pikachu, Eevee, and Psyduck. And if you look closely at these cards, they tell a story with each Pokemon being scared by another. These cards were made as part of a collaboration between the Pokemon Company and the Munch, a retrospective exhibition present at the Tokyo Metropolitan Art Museum between October 27th, 2018 and January 20th, 2019. Most recently, the Pikachu with Gray Felt Hat promo was produced as part of a collaboration between the Pokemon Company International and the Van Gogh Museum to celebrate the museum's 50th anniversary. This card also highlighted a scalper issue with crowds flooding the museum, showing how much others don't care about the safety of those around them and that Pokemania is still very much alive. The last set of cards inspired by real world art, is that fair to say? Pokemon is real art too, right? These cards could be purchased from Japanese post offices or the Japan Post Service website as part of a promotional Pokemon stamp box that included 3 stamp sheets and the 2 promo cards. The Cramorant card is inspired by a piece called Wild Geese Flying Under the Full Moon by Utagawa Hiroshige, and the Pikachu card is inspired by a piece known as Beauty Looking Back by Hishikawa Moronobu. The box was also available to purchase at the 2021 Japan World Stamp Championship exhibition between August 25th and 30th, 2021. Unfortunately, many that attempted to import these had their boxes opened by customs for removal of the stamps. Now let's take a moment to look at cards that are more accessible, because as we've just seen, Pokemon cards aren't just flat images, they're physical pieces of art with layers of detail. Some cards have these incredible holo patterns that shimmer differently depending on how you tilt them. Others have these embossed textures that add depth to the illustration, and that's what makes collecting these so rewarding, getting to appreciate these tiny artistic decisions that often go unnoticed. Umbreon from Neo Discovery, a classic card where the holo pattern really complements the night sky. Reshiram from the Radiant Collection subset, the contrast between a fire-type Pokemon against a bunch of rose petals is beautiful. Lysander from Flashfire, he's one of my favorite villains, and this card is cool, so of course it's here. Enamorous V featuring Kogita from Japanese Dark Phantasma. I don't normally like this Pokemon, but she is serving the way Egawa illustrated it. Jirachi V from Japanese Time Gazer. I love the way that there are stars hidden in the texture of the card. One of the best examples of Pokemon cards as an art form is the Pokémon TCG Illustration Contest. Every few years, artists around the world submit designs that bring these creatures to life in new and unexpected ways. It's not just about the illustrations though. The Pokemon card community is built on shared experiences, trading, playing, and even reminiscing about our favorite Pokemon. Because art is a universal language that connects people across the world. I asked a few people in the Pokemon community, those who have participated in the illustration contest and regularly share their art on social media, to tell me what Pokemon means to them.
As an artist, Pokemon's always inspired me to create small pockets of comfort and whimsy. Pokemon's been special to me because it always feels like I'm learning something new, even though I've been a fan for such a long time. And it keeps inspiring me to create. There's just something magical about it being a huge part of my life and also being able to share that with others.
Pokemon is the very reason why I started drawing in the first place. I just really like the designs, the card art, and it's just what inspired me to just create so that one day I can have my art on a Pokemon card.
Chespin is my very favorite Pokemon, and in 2014 or 2015, I don't know, the internet knows for sure, I was one of the winners of the Pokemon Art Academy contest for the 3DS for illustrating a little Chespin promo card. So he's really cool. Later on, I got hired on this show called Big City Greens through a recommendation of a friend who was also a big Pokemon fan. That we were mutuals because we both did Pokemon art and were obsessed with like the anime. And now on the show we did a parody of Pokemon in an episode, and I got to design a lot of monsters for it. And one of the monsters is called Starmadillo, and he's inspired by Chestnut, one of my faves. So that's a pretty cool full circle moment. Anything to add, Mingus? Of course.
For those wanting to explore more of their work or commission art, all of these artists maintain an active presence on several platforms, and you can find links to their profiles in the description. Pokemon also inspires me with my own art. I'm a photographer that basically plays Pokemon Snap in real life, taking pictures of my figures and plush in real-world environments. So why do I still collect Pokemon cards? Not for profit, not for complete sets, but because they make me feel something. They remind me of childhood, of friendships, of the joy of discovering something new. These simple joys are part of what makes Pokemon feel magical to me and why I have such great nostalgia for it today. And so I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what your favorite Pokemon card is in the comments, and if you enjoyed this look of the value of what Pokemon cards bring me and others, press the like button and subscribe, and share this with at least one person so I can keep making videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with one last shot of Charizard.
リザード火炎ポケモン高さ 1.7 メートル重さ 90.5 キログラム地上 1400 メートルまで羽を使って飛ぶことができる高熱の炎を吐く
Hey guys, when one video ends, just click on another one. It's called binge viewing. Go ahead, I support you. Did they do it yet?